So right, my boy, Alex O'Connor, and by my boy I mean I don't know him personally, and I would be surprised if he's heard of my rinky-ding little YouTube's channel, recently threw out this video, which is a clip from a debate he had a while back with not my boy, Ben Shapiro. And I don't say that because I don't like him or anything, it's just that everything that comes out of his mouth, especially when it comes to atheism or theism in general, is pure drivel. Anyway, this clip opens with a long spiel by the man with the driest doctor on earth, giving atheists what for, with his brain so inflated it's nice and smooth like a balloon. And while O'Connor goes on to respond pretty dang well in his own video, there's just so much in this that I wanted to take a crack at it myself.
What I think is an atheist delusion is that
it's actually worth directly engaging with Benji Shapenji. I know, if there's one thing that he has proven time and time again, he lacks the mental faculties to have a discussion about any facet of atheism whatsoever. Oh, and while he's bringing it up, I would love to cover his atheist delusion video, but I will be 7 ways from Sunday if I'm gonna give him money to do so. So if anyone knows of any way to acquire it completely legitimately without doing so, please feel free to share.
it is possible to live ideologically purely in a way that does not rely on fundamental faith principles.
So, assuming what you meant by ideological purity is that someone's worldview is based on shit within it. In this case, assuming that atheism is a synonym for naturalist, because it always fucking is with these guys. Pro tip, actually isn't. Learn to worldview. But for argument's sake, let's just say it is. No, of course, you can derive most of it, if not all, from the shit that an atheist could believe, from the things they hold to be true, and not from some fucking religious nonsense. What are you talking about? Oh, that's right, all atheists ambia steal from the God Boys. That's always what these guys think, forgetting all the shit that their religions have stolen from others.
When I say faith principles, I'm not going to make the claim that those faith principles are direct from Sinai, or that those faith principles require the New Testament, for example.
I mean, you can not do that, but what else, at least in your view, is there? Do you actually think that atheists are getting their faith boys from Hinduism, or the Egyptian mythos, or fucking Zeus and his mighty thundercock? I doubt it, and if pressed, my betting would be that, in fact, the atheists are all getting them from the Bible, at the very least. But of course, we aren't, because we don't need to. And I would bet my left nut that most of the ideas that exist within the Bible, if not all of them, existed before it.
I'm going to make the claim that there are a bunch of principles upon which we base ourselves that are external to what we know about nature and evolutionary biology.
Oh, Benja, I can only imagine that your understanding of any science and nature, let alone biology, would be so incredibly limited that what you know about it could fit into that little cup of yours and still leave space for 100% of the cup to be filled with literally anything else. In this instance, I'm choosing to believe he's drinking a steaming hot cup of his own salty tears. Hey, it could have been something else that is his and salty. Count yourself lucky.
And that many of the things that Alex does in his daily life, for example, are going to be things that rely on principles that are external to a philosophy that would assume a lack of the supernatural, a lack of the extra natural.
First off, I gotta mention, I always found the term supernatural bothersome. Not in that, there ain't nothing beyond the beyond kind of way, but more of a, that the word always sounds to me less not natural and more really, really, really natural. I know it's fine grammatically speaking, but every time I hear it, I just try to imagine the most real thing that ever reeled. And that is, of course, me. But anyway, so what is it that he relies on so much that aren't even normal real, let alone really real?
So some of those principles, for example, are free will.
Of course, free will. Every theist's favorite argument for God. That's based on something they can't even demonstrate to be a real thing in and of itself. You'll find that a lot. Well, book, though, is true because free will is true, and free will is true because God did it, and God is real because of the Bible. If it were any more circular, you could strap a saddle to it and call it a unicycle.
So every day we get up, we believe, virtually all of us, whether we say we believe it or not, we actually act in ways that betray the idea that we believe that we have control over our own actions, at least to a certain extent.
Do we? I mean, how else exactly would you expect me to behave? Alex actually later touches on this in his full-length video, but it bears repeating. What way do you expect someone to act other than the way in which their lack of free will allows them? It would, in fact, take free will for me to act in any other way than just doing what I do, because that's what my body, brain, or whatever decided. Also, there are absolutely people who very much act like they don't have any control over their lives, and most of them are pretty fucking depressed about it. But again, if free will isn't free real, then there's not exactly much they can do about it in that moment, is there?
And that control makes a difference in the world. And that's what gives us purpose. It's what allows us to wake up in the morning and make the decision to do what we believe is right or what we believe is wrong.
Yes, and here's the thing. You can still do all of that without free will being real. You just don't know you're not making a really, really real choice. And it's absolutely fine. Also, you have to bear in mind that things like compatibilism exist, and that is basically the idea that free will exists despite everything in brains and shit being based on reactions and environmental stimuli. Free will could exist in the same way that the four fundamental forces of the universe exist, in that it's just a thing that kinda happens. We don't assume those are all supernatural, even though we have yet to discover where exactly they come from, but it's perfectly conceivable that they could be discovered and exactly how and why they function. Same with some form of libertarian free will. Could be out there, waiting to get figured out, and no god or any other supernatural doodad would be required.
That the principles of right and wrong are external to evolutionary biology.
For fuck's sake, no they're not. They aren't even external to any given religion. Otherwise, they would all say the same shit. The very fact of the overwhelming number of different views on what is or is not right or wrong is proof positive that if such a thing did exist, we have absolutely no access to it at any level. And we probably never will. But our conceptions of right and wrong absolutely come from evolutionary biology. And it drives me crazy that people think that that's just not satisfying enough. As if the fact that natural selection made this incredibly nuanced and complicated system that allowed people to give a shit about each other in a broad way beyond their own flesh and blood. Well, that's rubbish. It's way more interesting if you boil it down to God did it, shrug. Fuck off.
So both of these principles that I've mentioned already, free will, right and wrong,
are both shit at saying anything about whether or not an individual does or does not believe in any kind of God. They also don't have to behave in any way that you think proves that they give a shit about them. People with certain personality disorders often have no ability to grasp right and wrong. And people in fucking comas have just about the shittest version of free will ever. The existence of counterexamples to these claims kind of makes them seem more than a little bit silly.
These come from a language that is external to the Darwinian language of evolutionary biology.
Okay, you can say it like that, but that wouldn't make it external to reality. Only that evolution is incapable of explaining that thing. Now, I don't actually think that's the case, but even if it's not, that's fine. Like so many theists, you seem to have this idea that evolution needs to explain so much more than it was ever necessarily designed to. Although, thankfully, and this is hard to say, but Ben is at least not stupid enough to believe that means evolution am not true. But still, he is stupid.
If you're talking about free will, there is nothing in nature that suggests the ability to make a decision free of environment and genetics in combination in some sort.
Well, aside from the fact that if free will is actually real and thus would exist in nature in a purely material world, therefore that would basically demonstrate that free will can possibly exist in nature. There are absolutely arguments towards the idea that libertarian free will can exist in the world as we understand it through science, like the idea that emergent properties of complex systems happen. They produce things that individually its constituent parts do not have. Like how some loose hydrogen and oxygen atoms are just, well, gases, If you smash a bunch of them together, you have water, which has the property of making things and being, yes, I said it, wet. Well, it's argued that when you have a shitload of neurons and such all smashed together, that's what causes the thing we experience as free will. And it more or less functions in the way that Ben assumes free will does. And of course, God is in there with all the neurons. And wait, no, it's a perfectly naturalistic explanation, no God required. There are others, but you get my point, and Ben needs to stop being so wrong about everything he says. Although more than likely he can't, because, you know, free will isn't real.
The same thing is true of right and wrong. The idea that there is a right and there is a moral wrong that we can reason our way to. Another principle that I think that you're obviously very big on, it's something that you rely on all the time. Your entire podcast is based on the idea of reason.
Well, wouldn't reason just come packaged with free will? Also, it's definitely not something that needs a god or religion to exist to be a thing. All it needs is a universe that is coherent. And even if you go, well, it's coherent because God made it that way, that's still something that you have to demonstrate. It very well could be coherent because it has to be in order to exist. And again, God wouldn't need to be involved in such a state of affairs.
These ideas do not exist in the context of a purely materialist atheist universe.
That is completely incorrect, and the fact that you decided to make multiple videos and what is, at least I assume, a mini documentary about how atheists are the big stupid because of these things, that I don't understand and didn't bother to actually talk to anyone about until now apparently, should be completely embarrassing to anyone who thinks this man isn't utterly full of shit.
Now, I'm not going to make the claim that I can prove that it's God who's behind those things, because
he isn't real. Also, you can't prove that they are even supernatural. In fact, the best you can do, assuming there is no current naturalistic explanation for them, is say, I don't know where this comes from or why it do. And funnily enough, that's not at all compelling to your average atheist as an attempt to get them to stop doing an atheism all over themselves. And now that I think about it, atheism is perfectly fine with things being supernatural anyway. It's only a claim that an individual doesn't think a god exists. Everything else, ghost, unicorn, fucking magic, can all exist within an atheistic framework and have no effect on the potential truth of the existence of any gods, and certainly no effect on someone believing in them or not. I mean, you think we exist in a world with a god, and yet atheists still exist. So, yeah.
One of the principles of faith belief is that I don't understand God. So for people who don't believe in God, that's an easy way out, right? That's an easy way out for people like me, because I say, well, I don't have to explain the relationship between God and free will because, frankly, I don't fully understand God.
Or anything, apparently. But you're right on the fact that it is an easy out. And more importantly, incredibly intellectually lazy. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. If you aren't actually interested in understanding reality or how the anything works, no one is forcing you to. You can skip along on your merry, ignorant way, and more power to you. But if you think that you should get to make rules about how we do things in the world, then you are damn fucking right that you better be able to explain how and why a god exists and its relationship to how everything works. Otherwise, you need to shut the fuck up and let the grown-ups who do care about how things work do the talking.
But that's not really that's not really an open window. That's just part of pretty much all faith systems, is that if my mind were the mind of God, then I would either be God or God would not exist, one of the two things.
You gotta throw in a false dichotomy, otherwise how are we supposed to get apologetics bingo? No, if you knew what God thought, you could also be someone who understands how God thinks, because he made you that way, or maybe there's more than one God, or maybe God is a universe-shitting creature with a mind so simple, it's basically an amoeba. It's shit like this that proves to me that you put agonizingly little thought into your position, but that's only because you obviously put none in.
So the idea that reason makes a difference in our lives, that we can reason our way to propositions, and that's more than just saying a few magic words and that's setting off a few neurons in somebody else's brain in a naturalistic way.
Well, in a purely naturalistic way, they aren't fucking magic, dipshit.
That there actually is principles of truth, another concept that comes from the extra-natural world.
No, it comes from this world. It's a thing that humans came up with and assume is how it works. It might not be, at least beyond this universe, but it is how things work inside of this universe, as far as we can tell. And assuming by truth you mean, demonstrable facts. If you mean right and wrong again, I just think I'm going to eat my own fucking face.
that these principles exist. So far I've mentioned free will, good, right and wrong, reason, and truth, right? All things that we consider extremely key in our daily lives and that Alex considers key in what he does. It's, I assume, why you get up every morning, or at least why you feel you get up every morning.
Well, I don't know about Ale X, the 10th sequel to Ale, but I know why I do this. And while it does involve those ideas and a lot of big sexy swears, the main reason I do this, and I would bet it's probably at least part of why he does what he do, is because we fucking enjoy it. All those tasty neurons firing, making probably fake free will that cause us to do things. It's because we want to. It's fun or enjoyable or some version of satisfying as an endeavor. I mean, why does anyone do anything? Probably because in some small way, they want to.
You know, what gets you up to do your podcast? It's because you want to say things that you believe are reasonable, are going to convince people to act in a better way, or I assume not a worse way.
Okay, so if we're going to do some of the slightly postury, me am so high and mighty reasons to do this, as much as I do take the piss a lot, one of mine has always been to get people to actually think about their positions instead of relying on intuition. I do think that the root cause of many a bad idea is people allowing their emotional reactions to dictate how they understand reality without actually checking to see if they truly align. I think someone once said something to that effect, but then people started to notice that what they really meant was facts don't care about other people's feelings, only theirs. Unfortunately, who that was has been lost to time.
That get people to change their lives in some way, in a self-motivated fashion that's not merely in a sort of Pavlovian response to circumstance and environment.
It's not Pavlovian, you dense fuck. It's effectively actions having equal and opposite reactions. Those aren't the same things. Pavlovian is a very specific psychological effect. Also, wanted to add, just because I have another layer of motivation above want to do, doesn't mean that free will is real. I would still be doing things based on a bunch of environmental and whatever factors, FYI.
So if I were going to talk about the atheist delusion, that's what I would suggest is the delusion, that an atheist can use terminology that is drawn from a world that is external to atheism.
I mean, the entire world is external to atheism. It's called the world. But the language and terminology you are talking about is just human ideas that came from human beings, including literally every last word in every single biblical or religious text whatsoever. So by your logic, they're more atheist than we are.
For itself. And again, that's not an argument.
Well, I didn't want to say it, so I'm glad someone did.
For God, even. That's just an argument against atheism.
Maybe, but it's just not a very good one.
Again, I think the arguments against God are fairly compelling.
I really want to give him credit because that's actually pretty intellectually honest as a position, but it does make me wonder if he fucking believes anything.
And I think the arguments against atheism are fairly compelling. This is one of the things that I've said to Sam Harris.
Well, I do think that the arguments against God are extremely compelling, and the arguments I have heard against atheism are almost universally incapable of even understanding what atheism is, and even when they do, they just aren't very good, as demonstrated by you today. Thanks, Ben. You're an example to us all. Really, really bad one.
And I think that the difference is that most people who believe in God have expressed doubts, and a lot of people who are atheists tend to be more religious in this way than many of the people who are God believers.
I literally have never met an atheist who has said to me they are 100% sure God doesn't exist. I mean, they may be out there, but I haven't met them. But I have met countless theists who claim to be absolutely 200% sure that he does. So look at that, your last chance to not say something wrong and stupid, and you fuck it up again. Good job, Ben.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the